talking about the landing space of the shooter, referencing the defense. Mike is going to talk about secondary defenders and unsportsmanlike, and then I know we tabled for protocol traveling. So that's a lot.
We'll never get it.
We'll never get it. So that's why I started with it.
Two.
What can we take traveling off the table? Would that everybody be comfortable with that? Okay.
Yeah.
The faking a foul and the
Faking a foul is number one for me.
Faking
This is
foul,
This
yeah.
is the issue we have across the country.
Secondary defender.
and then secondary defender and sports. If we get there, okay.
So Pierre, what is it for you?
Yeah, because I'm confused. See, I don't think we have a problem. You might have a problem. We don't have.
So we have a problem, we don't agree with that. So I agree to disagree. I think we need more consistency across the country and the way it's applied. And this is the problem that I see. Who's right, who's wrong, doesn't matter, but we need to fix it to make sure that first official understand what are the criteria for faking a foul and understand it clearly and apply it clearly. And so the coaches and the players know what's going to happen. So right now, I mean, everybody's confused.
So I think we have lots of mistakes. I think we have lots of mistakes and lots of errors. But I don't know that we have the confusion. And the only reason I say that, and I'll let you run through the presentation, because it's actually pretty simple. It's actually pretty simple. The signs of the fake are there, and if we don't have the signs of the fake, we shouldn't have a fake.
I agree with you, Mike, but my problem is, I think that everybody could read the rules and understand.
It's not the rules. It's not the rules. It's all the supplemental.
Also, you understand what it's about. How come that when we train our people, we came out with so much inconsistency? And the example I gave you yesterday was, I was talking to a senior ref, I mean, at youth sport level, and it is, you call it, is a way to approach it, is when I give a warning, any contact that will happen after will be probably a technical foul.
Probably, as opposed to.
Probably.
it's
So
technical.
he's ready to give a technical foul because he already had a warning before. The two plays are totally different. You could have a faking a foul the first play, and 10 minutes after, the same two players involved, and we have a clearly charge. But he will go with a technical foul because he had a warning before, and they want to prevent that happening again. And what I'm saying is, how come we have different interpretation from the referees on the court about this faking
I think
foul?
it's exactly what we talked about yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is, we have protocols, we have procedures, but we're not following those. Georgia,
So in something like that, where there's an initial warning on a fake, and then there's a warning for just something else, is that what you're talking
No,
about?
we have a warning for faking a foul
Yeah, okay.
on a fly. And the same situation happened between these two players later on in the game. And because we had a warning on that defensive player, almost no matter what's going to happen on the next play, it's going to be a technical foul, even if it's a charge. You know what I mean? And it's not only one guy speaking like this. I mean, there's, my point of view, there's inconsistency on the interpretation of faking a foul. And I agree with you. We need to understand, they need to understand what's the protocol, what is the criteria they need to apply, and make sure they understand that. And again, that based on the experience I was talking yesterday, got a clip, sent it to 20 different guys. The answer came out 45-55. For me, which was clearly a foul and not a flop.
part of that in my mind is we've got to stop letting people make their own decisions and get them to understand that we have a set of criteria and they need to follow the criteria. So I think run through the slides at the beginning of this, and the criteria is all laid out.
Well, before we go there, I mean, maybe I'm the only one having a problem with this. I don't know what's going on across the country. But to your point, Mike, I mean, we don't have people having their own interpretation on the traveling, on the block charge. They apply the protocol. And what is it that, for that part of the game, which is faking a foul, we have so different.
A little bit of it is new. I mean, what Mike talked about is the NBA making significant changes in the rule this year. The NC2A tried at the men's level last year, failed miserably, so they've rewritten their rule to get to a different place. And we'll see what happens this year. I think in Canada, we're very slow to adopt or adapt, and it's because of the American influence. So what Mike talked about with the unsportsmanlike fouls, we're still trying to catch up in Canada as to where the rest of the world is. And I think we probably haven't spent enough time with this in various locations.
One of my favorite things now with the FIBA broadcasts and the women's WNBA is when they go to the monitor for review of foul, and when the referees go through the process, they get it. But when they all of a sudden start off with an emotion or a feeling, you're like, oh my goodness, it's not going to go good. But you can tell, okay, did they have this? Did they have this? Did they have this? Well, obviously, it's their ball, wasn't it? Right. Block.
Yeah, you can hear it, they'll look at it.
That's right.
And you confirm this is the way you
And I think the more that officials and coaches see those, so it's not just a feeling by the referee, there's a process.
So I think the other thing is we have a bit of a sense that the fake a foul, because we use the word flopping all the time, and it's not flopping, it's fake a foul, is that we believe the focus was around block charge. And that's not where the focus is. The focus is on the head snaps, running into screens on purpose, and then bouncing off the screens, and on closeouts where three-point shooters are going to the ground to protect themselves, not because they're trying to create a foul.
I mean, if everybody's comfortable with that, I mean, I will deal with that and find a way to.
Yeah, no, but I think those are the slides we're doing.
Yeah, we can just go through these. So in FIBA, we have basic principles. Just like yesterday, protocols, criteria. And again, you'll see this in all of ours, you gotta be 100% sure. We talked about unsportsmanlike fouls, you gotta be 100% sure. Okay. Another principle that helps you to identify the fake is having that open angle, right? Seeing the whole play and using common sense. So this is where we often fail, is common sense, because common sense, I think, as a referee, comes from knowing the game and knowing what players are trying to do and knowing what is natural and what is not. And I think that's where we have an issue.
When we talk about common sense, this is where it started to get a little confused, because your common sense and my common sense might not be exactly.
One of the most important things is identifying the action. And in identifying the action, we use the same processing that we talked about, seeing the start, develop, and finish before making a decision as to what it is. And when you're identifying the actions, you're actually looking for what those signs are when you get to the signs. Other principles with respect to, is it just a normal fake, or is it excessive or egregious? So you have to make that distinction too, because one is a warning and one is a direct technical foul, right? Again, knowing the protocols. How do we show that it's a fake, and what goes along with that? Again, being clear with your communication and the protocols, and also being proactive with players, and that's something that we have to teach our referees at this level, is in everything that they're doing out there, is we need to be more proactive with the players. You need to talk to the players. You need to, if you're seeing sort of signs of it starting, you need to cut it off at the pass. So these are some of the principles that we're teaching our FIBA refs to when you start with. And in the IoT manual on page 22 and 23, that it's there. They break it down, they talk about the signs, they do all that. What we have to do is encourage our referees to open up the IoT manual and to continually study, because all there.
In Canada West, I expect all my officials to have a copy of the IoT manual with them in the dressing room. That's an expectation. I mean, they can have it on their phone or on a computer if they want, but I expect them to have it. And I don't think we have 4,500 officials across the country that are carrying the IoT manual.
And my house to go. What can we offer to give them incentive to have that? Is it just a reduction in the number of games you might get at an elite level? I don't know. Like you said, I expect. Well, what do you do with the officials that don't have that or aren't doing this?
Well, they should naturally be falling behind in quality
That,
if
I
they're
didn't-
not using
You have
that.
to do a good job at teaching from the beginning. So from the beginning, like I had 10 weeks of sessions last year for beginner officials for IoTs. And that's where it starts. It starts at the grassroots level. We have started now to start developing those good habits.
And it's, they have to want it.
Yes.
Right? You
That's a
sign
key
up
word.
or you don't, right? And so you have to wanna do it. It's, you have to want to always be getting better.
We engage them, but we also have to have them engaging us back.
That's right, so you
Right.
offer 10 weeks, right? And,
Yeah.
and then when they don't pick it up and they see their cohorts advancing, right? You see them making the good calls and in the feedback after the games, getting that feedback, then it's like, oh geez, I better learn how to do
And there
that.
might be something to this.
Yeah, that's right. So we talked about what's excessive, right? And it can be black or white, and it can be with or without contact. The gray area is sort of that with contact. Is it actually a foul or is it a flag? So you have to be able to assess that. Okay. With respect to illegal contact, to have this good faith, you need some level of contact. Some level of contact. So often they're going into the player and then some action is coming as a result of that, right? So if the faker creates illegal contact, and there's a foul, this is where Mike's saying that this is gonna change soon, but right now, the foul's happening, call the foul, ignore the fake. And you ignore the fake with respect to calling it, but you acknowledge it with the player. You need to talk about it. You need to say, listen, I saw what you did. And, you know, next time if it's not a foul, you're going to be called for a fake. Okay? Again, this is changing, but if a foul is called, there's no possibility for a fake. I remember when this first came out, there was both. There's a foul, and then this, and then this. Right, so it's, and if a fake is called, there's no foul. So, but they're going to be changing that here. So the signs of fake, and this is what referees need to know, right? The faker is looking for contact first. He or she needs to make contact to have a fake. Again, the head fake, that seems to be one of the most prevalent. You know, when they initiate that contact, you know, they're going back, and we see it out in the gym here. Right? And we see the head fake not even in one of those situations, right? Those twins from Addison, it's like the constant head fake. Signs of a fake, this over dramatization, right? These theatrical or exaggerated movements. You gotta deal with those, and you gotta deal with them early.
So we gotta make sure we're seeing.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
look at me.
Yeah, but you deal with it early, and that's a problem that we have is we see it, we don't do anything, and then it continues or just gradually gets worse, and then by the fourth quarter, we're finally addressing it with something. Another sign of fake is, you know, jumping off the spot and landing, like, you know, and when they get hit, it's jumping from that same spot and landing on the same spot, because it's contrived, right? They're acting. But if you get hit, that force of getting hit will drive you to another spot, will send you somewhere else. And then, right, just jumping back, feet up first, throwing yourself back. Another one is basically when somebody is coming, just sitting down in the chair. That one, where they just sit down. And sitting down and your hands behind you, being prepared for the fall. So those are
If I
some.
may just question.
Yeah.
Mike, from the original player perspective, is there any training to the player when they shoot the ball and they're critically guarded to come down the floor and protect the landing space and avoid injury by
Don't
doing that?
try to land on 2 feet. You try not to teach shooting landing on 1 foot. 2 reasons. One is safer because you're not landing on 1 foot with all your weight, but also there's overuse. So Kia actually had to get surgery before the Rio Olympics because she always landed on her left leg and she ended up with an onion. Because just the constant thousands of landing on 1 foot. So it's, but the way the game is played now, you are getting, especially some of these followaways.
Is there any training, like, if you're not sure you have the landing space safe, when you're coming down, get down the floor to avoid injury and things?
No.
I'm not gonna be told that by someone, which is, we
We
train them on purpose.
We are seeing
to
it
avoid
in the men's game, Mike, where you have a little bit more often either the spread of the leg or you have players that are closing out under. We're starting to see it in the men's game.
And the leg kick too. I throw my leg because now you're gonna hit, and then it's kind of like that football, as a football coach too, they keep under, you know, anything close, you just do like a spin up or just try to go.
The one that I saw yesterday, Pierre and I were talking about it, King's Christian, can you stand up for a second? That I was saying to him, I'm like, I don't think they're, so the defender, Agnes, right, coach, our national program, so she's doing the shock, so, he's dribbling with his left, and I come in to shock, but he continues to dribble, and then as he takes his next dribble, I blow up. Right, in terms of it, so at the beginning of the game, I was like, why is there so many bodies on the ground, right? But they were trying to shock the ball, and then as that engagement dribble came, they established position, and then they blew up. And actually, our officials called 2 charges, but there was no contact, right? Because but aesthetically, it looks, I shocked the ball, I'm engaged, right? But there's no contact, and then I dribble next, and then they kind of fall backwards. So they're doing that, getting in front, shocking the ball, and then, faking the foul kind of thing. So it was,
Positioning in those.
and it was well taught, right?
Yeah.
Because the entire team did it, right? So then I was like, take a look at that, Pierre, right? And then we never caught it, and then they were just on the ground constantly. So any chase down scenario to the basket, there was a player on the floor.
Interesting.
Which, yeah, and I had not seen, I have not seen that.
Well, it's, this whole one of taking a charge, because to legally stand there and let someone run you over is dangerous. I mean, that's where most of the concussions are occurring. So there is an element that I have to somehow absorb and just make sure I fall. But one of the things we never want to teach is head going back in contact. We want them to actually just sit and take it like this. And we don't want them putting their hands back, because that's broken wrists. Is we actually want them to fall on their butts, right? And then just kind of tucked in a tucked position and slide. But you have to make sure there's the contact. You can't. But we would never. That would never be something that's because that's
The way we talked with the unsportsmanlike foul yesterday, if we have a game and a referee has an unsportsmanlike foul, the question we ask them is what was the criteria? And if we have a fake in the game, the question we ask them is, what were the signs of the fake? And they need to be able to address the signs of the fake. So, and that's why it's interesting to me, Pierre, when you talk about I think you said the next time it happens on a block charge situation, they're calling it fake. Well, we've already had a slide that tells us if there was contact, call a foul. So that tells us that that's completely out.
Yeah, I'm not questioning our training stuff that we have. It's the interpretation of people taking out of it and they apply on the court.
Yeah. But it's very clear. If we have contact, we have a foul. We call the foul.
Yeah.
So that should just, I'm gonna use the word never, it's a crazy word, but it should never happen.
Yeah.
But we ask about what are the signs.
No, I'm just trying to take what we have in the training program and put it on the floor. Like what he was talking about, the 1, 2, 3 travel, you roll the place a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't understand that, it's still using it when they started dribble. It's clear in the rule book, everybody should know that, but the way they apply it or they use it before is different. That's all.
And in a situation like that, Pierre, that you're talking about, there's a warning here, and then on block charge, there's a technical foul. We saw that too. I know that we talked about that at the Women's Worlds, and that what was happening was they weren't seeing the whole play, right? And they were guessing. Because they didn't see the whole play, they've got 3 options now, 4 options. They've got the block, they've got the charge, they've got a fake a foul, and they've got a no call. Oftentimes, when they didn't see the entire play, they would go right to the fake foul.
And I think what you just brought up is so important. We still have those 4 options in those situations. Not only
Nope, that's right.
foul or fake, we still have those 4.
Yeah, and so that's what we were finding, is that when they did not know what to call, they would go into the fake foul. Or when they, if you ask them, when did you pick up a play? Well, I didn't pick it up until contact or whatever, fake.
Because the way it's described and the way it's presented in the training tool is clear.
Mm-hmm.
It should be obvious for everyone that you call that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And that's another principle that we have at FIBA, is called the obvious. Right? Everybody in the gym should know should know that there's gonna be a whistle coming and why that whistle came. And if you're 100% sure, everybody should know. So this is just the standard fake, and the protocol, right? And this is something that we need to clarify with our referees, is what is the protocol, right? That the warning is given to the player and to the head coach during the next game interruption, okay? And that this warning serves as a warning for the team. And repeat it will be a technical foul, but we're not doing those 2 steps. It's usually one or the other. Okay? So it's gotta go to the player and to the head coach. Excessive faking, it's really from, not generating that illegal contact, it's just trying to fool the ref.
Warning if unnecessary.
In warning, it's just straight to technical foul.
But also rare.
It is,
Yeah.
because they don't know.
Yeah.
If we do the other one first, this one becomes exceedingly rare. Because nobody's been warned.
Yeah. Depends on who you're like I said, if a player fakes and generates illegal contact, because that's what we're looking for as referees, is the illegal contact, then it's just a foul. We're not gonna go through the rest of it, but it's gonna change. Signs of fake, so faker's looking for contact, and then coming out and doing the thing. So, and that's why it's so important.
And this is common. This is common right now on the screen.
On the screen,
A
yes.
screen up high. Players running into the screen and bouncing off the screen. And I think Mike said this, he said this, that a number of European teams, instead of going over and under, they're going to the screen.
And we didn't target a shoulder, they're running to shoulder, and go shoulder to shoulder contact, so it actually will, it literally, not really, it actually will spin you. And the spin, and when both people don't spin, so it's like, if you didn't see the whole play, there's definitely a collision.
And they go the direction of the shoulder. So if they hit with the left shoulder, they're spinning this way. They hit with the right shoulder, they're spinning this way.
Toughest games to have is Spain and any Asian team. Because they're hitting, jumping, falling all the time.
That's
crazy.
a coaching taught.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Bodies everywhere.
We're seeing that though, like if you take a look at nationals last year on the youth sport level, the higher end teams are starting to do the same thing, and the amount of contact that's happening, particularly in the middle phases of offense. And that's where I think our referees are getting caught, because we're not seeing the whole play, but we're not anticipating that 0.5 that is happening on offense. So our eyes are not scanning those active matchups to see what the next is, and those screens are happening, because like you said, there's horns and there's picks right now. So from that aspect, are we putting ourselves in a position to see the whole play? Because they want you to catch the back end of, like Mike said, the spin, because then you're like, oh my god, that's an illegal screen. But the defender, like the poor person setting it, which is usually in the post, it was always there. So
Also, the problem is they're only looking for one thing.
yeah,
Right? And they're not thinking that on this screen, there could also be a possibility for the fake. Right? They're just looking for that contact, but they're not saying to themselves, I need to continue to watch this, because there's also a possibility for that. So, and that's happening a lot, especially in the women's game. So other signs, like I said, head going back, jumping off your feet. That's more so for the video. This other, signs of faking to create space, this and going back. Oftentimes we miss this because it's so quick, and it doesn't have to be a full extension. It could just be that, right? And it knocks people off their balance. And sometimes people are calling it a fake because they haven't seen the whole play and they just see the movement. But something like that, it's an offensive foul, and it needs to be acknowledged as an offensive foul. Another thing that we were seeing is, people falling back and it looking like a head flop, or just, keep going up or whatever, but, going through tight spaces, oftentimes your foot gets stepped on, right? The defender moves at the same time and their foot goes on top, and that's not fake. Right? That there's a reason why that person is falling. That's why we need to see the beginning, the middle, and the end. That's why we need to have distance and be stationary to be able to see from toe to head, right? To be able to see that entire play. So
I see so many officials that have narrowed their vision vertically, and what they're looking at is the position of the ball. They're not looking toe to head. And we've got to open up our vision vertically. We've done a pretty good job of opening our vision horizontally, but we haven't done a good job of opening our vision vertically.
I have a question. I think the best example of that was the CBO this year. One player, when driving to the basket, offensive player creating the contact, then go out with fall up there and just try to indulge their hack and go down the floor. And we have a little call most of the time on that one. But it's still faking a foul at some point.
or an offensive foul by clearing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you don't have an offensive,
Yeah.
non-defensive, it's if you try to blur so much and then stop everything and put on the floor. It happens so much.
Yeah, yeah,
10, 12 times a game, minimum.
yeah. So if you miss that, but then there's this, then you've got another option, right?
What's like, but that play phase, referee are not thinking about faking a foul. It's like, we go back to the old-fashioned ways, the block, or charge, or the call. The third, fourth option doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist. Yeah, yeah, so. And that comes also from us too, when we're both playing. Like Mike said yesterday, or actually we said it in the presentation to NOCP level 4, about the deciding. You can't decide not to decide. You have to make a decision on the play, no matter what. And you've got those options. Okay, so that's thinking. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward, but always refer them back to the IoT manual, because it's laid out really well in the IoT manual. Any other questions?
Just to clarify, one of the slides said the official has to warn the player and then the head coach, right? And this could happen, let's say like a minute, 2 minutes
Yes.
after. So let's say the player's, on the offensive end in the corner and the head coach is over here. How would you like the official to warn the player and the head coach? to go to that person, or to call them over, or to go to the table and kind of let everybody know? How does that practically happen when they're in two physical separate spaces?
Your voice.
So just from your area.
voice, you can take a few steps over,
Yeah.
make eye contact, 24 white, right?
Gotcha.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay?
And then
And then
around.
turn the coach, 24 white,
Okay. Perfect.
and a warning, and we have a warning into the.
Okay, so you don't have to call them over or anything
Oh,
like
no.
that, you can
No,
say your voice.
no, and what that is, that's game control,
Everyone can.
Everybody.
You're not,
That's
you're
it.
not escalating the situation
Yeah.
by,
Right.
when you're right towards it.
Make sure you complete the communication.
Locking
with the
eyes.
partners.
That's
too.
as soon as. Well, and your partners will
You're
do it,
escalating,
right?
escalation.
So it's not like soccer when you walk into the person's face, look the card, and red card, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those, okay.
We should get some of those.
Yeah, yeah.
But so
Can
remember,
you imagine
the
the
protocol
problems?
is we warn both the player and the head coach.
Yeah.
But the reason we do that is because the warning is actually not for the player. It's for the other 23 players in uniform.
Right.
That's who the warning's for. The 11 teammates and the 12 on the other team. And
That's such a good point, because it has a question, most people will tell you, warn the player, it happened with that same player, it happened with somebody else, they're gonna restart the whole thing from the beginning.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, both teams get a warning, but that warning on one player, it doesn't apply to the 12 opponents that are players, but it
Yeah.
does
To his team.
but it does practically.
Yeah,
Right. Like a deterrent.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So, did you wanna talk a little bit about